Do you want to leave this Sarasota Manatee area? Escape too much development, too much heat, too many love bugs, snakes, gators. We have hurricanes. However, we know when they're coming. But now we're experiencing historical rainfalls that in June caused flooding in Sarasota city streets. Even at my house, and we're at an elevation of 13 feet above sea level, we watched out the window as the rain poured from the sky at an intensity that you would expect in a hurricane. But it was worse. And I watched out the window as my husband shoveled dirt to divert the water that was pooling around the base of our pool cage. I did a short video on that event last month. Others in the area were far more impacted than we were. And now we have experienced a historical rainfall again. 11 to 18 inches of rain fell as Hurricane Debby approached the Florida Gulf Coast. And again, streets were flooded in both counties this time, but it was worse. Rainfall from Hurricane Debby impacted local rivers and creeks, with both the Myakka and Manatee Rivers rising above flood stage, and residents and communities from Parish to portions of Lakewood Ranch in East Manatee County to Pinecraft in Sarasota County's Philippi Creek watershed were suddenly faced with having to evacuate their homes, leaving with nothing but what they could carry. Now, the Manatee River crested at 19 feet, more than 2 feet above major flood stage. And Monday evening, with water levels already receding, the Weather Service reissued a flood warning Tuesday morning for the river at Rye Bridge, in addition to the one at Myakka Head near State Road 64. As of 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, the water level at the Bahia Vista Bridge over Philippi Creek nearby me was at more than 10 feet. Its highest level since 2004, according to the Sarasota County Water Atlas. The water elevation at the Palmer East Station near Palmer Boulevard and DeBrecken Road was over 25 feet. At Philippi Creek, near the intersection of Bahia Vista and McIntosh Road, it was over 16 feet. And in these areas is where the heartbreak of residents facing the aftermath of a home flooded by 2, 3, 4 feet of water could be heard the loudest. I know people in these areas, and the posts on Facebook were devastating. How did they manage? Some were rescued by friends and family, and based on what I saw at the Siesta Key Mall parking lot, there were rescue personnel and vehicles staged from all parts of Florida that deployed to assist in the aftermath of this 1 in 100 years rainfall. As the waters receded and people returned to their homes, the grief for many was too much to bear. The communities impacted were gathering to discuss what the next steps were for recovery and rebuilding. Friends and family came together to start the process of discarding their belongings and getting them out of their homes so they could salvage what was left. People started ripping out drywall, carpet and flooring, cabinets and appliances. And the backdrop to all of this repair and recovery was a lot of anger and distress and questions as to why this flooding happened in a no flood zone area. one of the main areas where an existing community was surrounded by new development. Now, there's a large part of the population here that think that Sarasota and Manatee counties are getting overdeveloped and creating significant problems that include increased traffic and problems with stormwater management. I will say that in all the new developments that I have sold in, the use of retention ponds and lakes is a major consideration for stormwater management. The process of getting a new development approved includes an intense study of flooding possibilities and other impacts that building could have on land and existing communities surrounding that proposed development. These plans go through a review process before approval that many think is tainted by crooked city and county commissioners that will eventually put their stamp of approval on that new community. Now, I could get into the political scene in our counties, but I'm not going there. Suffice it to say that the answers the impacted residents want and need will have to be addressed by that governing body. But what about the other areas that flooded and were not near new development? Was that also related to new development? Are there other factors to consider? I spent some time trying to make sense of the geography of the two main rivers and the creek that flooded and caused homeowners to need rescue from rising waters. A few years ago, I sold a property in the Myakka area, which in northeast Sarasota County, and there was lots of discussion between the sellers and the buyers about a dam that was on the property. This dam was on the Myakka River, but it seemed somewhat inconsequential. It wasn't a big structure. The question was, who was managing that dam? Was it the responsibility of the owner of the property, or was it a county-managed piece of infrastructure on the Myakka River? It was determined that it was not the responsibility of the landowner, and thus the sale went through. Later, when Hurricane Ian went through the area, Northport was flooded in places, and we were actually transporting food and supplies and gasoline to family members that lived in Northport but were unable to leave. It turns out that that particular dam had been breached by overflowing waters, and because of the path of Myakka River, it flows to Charlotte Harbor, Northport was impacted. It seemed unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. I couldn't make sense of it at the time. That small dam breaking resulted in flooding in an area far south and west from that dam. But it was a major reason that area flooded from all of the rain that Ian brought with it. So what happened with the rainfall that Hurricane Debby brought into our area? Manatee County. The Manatee River was overflowing into Lake Manatee, and even though levels had been adjusted with the dam management, there was a needed release of water from the lake later on, and nearby homes were flooded. As well, the Myakka River, whose headwaters begin in far northeast Manatee County, overflowed. Was there infrastructure failure along points of both of these rivers? There are certainly investigations pointed in that direction. And was there mismanagement of Philippi Creek that winds through both counties? It is reported that Philippi Creek had so much silt and debris in the waterway that contributed to the overflow. And then there is the fact that it was such an unusual rainfall. It is labeled a 100-year storm, which means that there is a 1% chance that flooding could happen in a given year. Who would have thought that a trickle of a creek in back of your house could change and rise 16 feet in some areas and cause so much devastation. Important questions and investigations may reveal answers and plans to avoid future floods from weather patterns that are seriously changing. Meanwhile, insurance companies have set up local offices to assist with claims, and FEMA's in the area to assist with providing resources for recovery. My heart goes out to those affected, and I suppose that events like this will cause pause for people who are considering moving to the area. I don't blame them when they're making such a decision. There are so many considerations, including weather. Now, I've contacted my customers that might have been impacted with Hurricane Debby. And I've had customers calling me to ask how their homes they are building and buying are affected by such a freakish rainfall. I'm thankful that everyone is okay and that new homes in the process of being built or resales in the process of closing are fine. I'm a Floridian and I have lived in this area for 40 years. And I and my family have been extremely fortunate to have avoided much damage from hurricanes and floods. So I'm not going anywhere. I love Florida. And I love Sarasota and Manatee area, which it has so much to offer. Just today, I saw an article that Sarasota County was one of the healthiest places to live. So if you have questions about a move to Sarasota or Manatee counties, reach out and I'll see if I can answer your questions and give you as much information as possible to help with your decision. After all, I am Susan Phelps with Berkshire Hathaway Florida Realty, your real estate information specialist. Until the next time, bye-bye.